Before the video starts, we want to make a little disclaimer.
Yes. This video is a bit of a long one, but we recommend that if you do start to watch it, that you watch all the way to the end.
Yes, because there's going to be a lot of things that if you don't watch, you're going to be missing a lot of information. So watch the entire thing. And so let's get started. People of the internet, today we are going to be doing our real relationship tag. So we did a relationship tag right when we first started YouTube, but we left out one of probably the biggest parts of our relationship. And a lot of you guys inquired because we briefly mentioned like our parents, you know, we didn't get along from the beginning, and then that's where we left it. We didn't expand on why that is. So I do want to make a disclaimer that this is going to contain adult information, and I know some of you guys watch these videos with your kids, so this may be one video that you want to skip watching with the little ones and watch on your own. So, can we guess where this is going? Alright.
Oh boy.
Ryan's really nervous to make this. I'm just kind of like, eh.
So junior year of high school, we met officially in chemistry class. We became really good friends.
Yeah, we were both dating other people.
In school, friends.
Yes.
Didn't talk to each other really outside of class much.
No. And during this time, we were both seeing other people.
Yes.
So if you've read my story, then you know that during that class, I was seeing the bad relationship person that I was involved with. I was seeing that person, and he was seeing another girl. Seeing. Wasn't much of a dating.
If you want to call it that.
So after chemistry class, we kind of lost touch, I would say, because that was first semester, I think. And second semester, like, we talked, like, in the halls every once in a while, I think. But we didn't really talk that much. And then that following summer going into senior year, we started talking on Facebook. I think it was Facebook.
Yes.
Right? We were Facebook messaging, and then one of us was like, I gotta get off, here's my number or something. And I think the very next day, we hung out. Was it the next day?
I don't know if it was the very next day, but
it was
within
very
a couple
soon
days.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hung out, and we went to Ryan's house. We weren't allowed to go in the house because his parents were home.
Right.
So we sat in the backyard.
And
he
ate
went
pizza.
inside, made a pizza, brought the pizza outside, and we ate pizza and stared at trains go by. Because if you don't know, there's like train tracks in Ryan's parents' backyard, so that's what we did. Pretty much after that, we started seeing each other all the time, but we weren't officially going out yet because my mother told him that you had to wait, what?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, because I was known for liking a guy for about 2 weeks and then deciding, oh, I don't like him anymore. And then I hurt him in some way, and like not physically, but mentally. And so she told him, you need to wait 2 weeks.
And shocker, after 2 weeks, she pretty much was like,
I know.
So like we had planned already to go to like a concert, like I think the end of that week.
Yeah, something like that.
And so I was like, well, do you still want to go just as friends? And she was like, yeah, I'll go.
So I went, and I texted my mother in the middle of this concert, and I said, no, I really do like him. And so that concert made me change my mind, and I was like, no, I do, I really like him. And I think I told you at that concert,
yeah, I
right?
think so.
I held your hand or something to tell you. I think that's what I did. I think I just held his hand to tell him, no, I still like you. Yeah. Remember, we're teenagers here, guys. We're 17?
17,
yes, 17. Yeah, it was like the next week or something, he asked me to be like his official girlfriend, and then from there on was interesting.
Yes. So it was maybe within a week of that time we started having a sexual relationship.
Yes. Now keep in mind, at this time I was an atheist. He was still a Christian. And I led him the wrong way. It's my fault. I'll just say that right outright.
To be totally honest, I think I've even mentioned this to you before, but nobody else. Before we even really got together, it was already on my mind. I was already thinking about that stuff, and so it really wasn't you
It was
that
both
push,
of us. It takes
right.
two to tango, guys. But this part of our relationship gets a lot more interesting later on.
Yes.
So just sit tight. There is a lesson to be had in this.
Yes. Definitely.
So yeah, we started having sex. Ryan doesn't want to say sex. Sexual relations. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Bill Clinton.
Okay, anyways, moving on. So my mom, like, always knew if I was having sex. Like, she just knew. Because I was always happier, you know. We'll just say that. And so she, like, was right. I was like, you had sex with him, didn't you? And I was like, yeah. She made Ryan tell his parents. And so he had to, or I think she said she would, right? There was some kind of ultimatum where you wouldn't have told her.
It was something like she would ensure that we would never see each other again, or something like that. The day that she told me that, she was like, you need to do it today. And it just so happened to be a day that I was going to be riding in the car with my parents for 2.5 hours. In that car ride is when I, just from the back seat, was like, I have to tell you something, and that was the worst car ride I've ever experienced in my life. Oh my goodness. I hope nobody has to experience that type of
just don't have sex
anxiety,
before you get married,
right.
and then you won't have to have that conversation.
Exactly. It was terrifying. Especially me being a shy individual and not really being much of an open book. That was tough.
So, fast forward past this. This is the first time that our parents met.
Was the very next day.
Was it the next day?
The very next day.
And they met on terms of, because we were having sex. Both of our parents were Christian, obviously, so of course they were not okay with this. So Ryan and his parents and me and my parents all had to sit down, and this was the first time that they had met each other.
Yes.
So they basically told us we couldn't be alone together, we couldn't drive in the car together, we couldn't, there was no alone time until we had gained, like, their trust back. And obviously we needed to stop having sex. And then within this period, we got engaged more out of spite to our parents than like, hey, we're ready to be, because we really were not, guys. It was like a month into us dating.
Yeah.
So we got engaged kind of out of spite of our parents, and Ryan snuck out of the house in the middle of the night when I was over at a friend's house, proposed to me there. It was nothing romantic at all.
No.
Not even a little bit. And
wasn't a real ring.
we need to preface here. We were completely immature, totally different people. Actually, all of us, really. Even your parents, my parents, us. Like, we were all completely different than what we are now.
Oh, yeah.
And this, how we mentioned, like, the leadership business that we work with, that our parents work with, and us, it's all due to that we are what we are now.
Yeah.
But we were all completely different. Ryan didn't get along with his parents. Him and his mom would always fight. Me and my stepdad did not get along at all. It was pretty much any conversation we tried to have ended up in fighting. Our relationships were in such a different place.
Yeah.
Like, night and day difference than what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So from here on out, this was like a back and forth of, like, maybe we should make a change, you know, battling with learning new information through our leadership business and still being immature teenagers. And it was like a growth and kind of back and forth where it was like, we should stop having sex, and then we were like, no, we shouldn't. So then 2 years before we got married, we decided that we were fully done having sex. We were like, faith-wise, morals-wise, for us, we felt that it wasn't right anymore, and so we wanted to stop. And obviously for any of you guys that are in relationships, you know that it is very, very, very difficult to stop once you have already had sex with someone. It's not as hard if you're, like, trying to not have sex with someone, like a new partner, but someone that you've already been close with like that, it's extremely difficult. We decided, though, that we were done and we were going to stop, and so we did. We stopped. It was very much a slow process. It was like, you know, we'd go a while not, and then it'd be like, oh, we messed up, and then, you know, back and forth, whatever. You guys don't need details of that. So when we got married, it had been 2 full years since we'd had sex.
So kind of going back in time a little bit then, from that point in time, it's kind of difficult to tell this in exactly chronological order. I remember I pretty much didn't speak to my parents, hardly at all during like the first probably 6 months of our relationship. So obviously there's a lot of tension between all of us.
Me and Ryan's mom did not get along at all. I mean,
that like
any conversation we had ended in yelling.
There's,
now we laugh about it. Like,
yeah.
we completely laugh about it just because of the complete 180 change in all of our relationships.
I don't remember where it fell in line, but there was one point that Arianna was like, I can't do this anymore. And so she gave me the ring back and left. And that was probably one of the worst days of my life.
I was in a very bad place mentally. This was like at the brunt of my PTSD. I had a lot of self-injury issues with like cutting and bulimia, I think was then too. Trying to still let go of my really bad relationship that I had been in the beginning of my relationship. I broke up with him several times. So like adding that on to feeling like I could never be alone with him, and then his mom and I not getting along. I was not a good person then. But I'm super thankful that, one, that this guy had the patience that he had, because he most definitely could have just been like, Arianna, I'm sorry, you're crazy, I'm done. Because I kind of was. Thanks for not giving up on me, though. Yeah. I appreciate it, like, more than you ever know.
But I think, actually, that day was kind of a turning point in the relationship I had with my dad. I think my mom was gone. So it was just me and my dad, and we spent like an hour or two just talking. And he was really like understanding where I was and why I was feeling the way I was feeling. So that really like made a big turning point for me, I think. Mm-hmm. Obviously there was a bunch of little stuff here and there spread throughout the whole journey.
The biggest thing with our relationship, going back to like deciding that stop having sex, is it can make or break a lot of relationships, because a lot of people feel like when they stop having sex that, and this is the reason we wanted to bring this up, was to maybe some of you guys that are teenagers right now, and maybe you're like struggling with your faith or something, and you feel in your heart that you shouldn't be having sex, but maybe you have, or you are, and you feel like there's no way that a relationship could work without it. This is coming from someone that felt like I needed sex to feel in love. This was my problem, is that I felt like I needed it to be in love with somebody, like to stay in love with them. I felt like it was a need. And, I never did drugs, I never did alcohol, I never had any of that, but I have said before that sex was kind of like an addiction for me. I don't know how I brought myself back down to earth when I was having so many issues mentally and with everything going on. And I just want to say that it is possible. It takes a lot of work. And I think that we have the relationship that we do. Like, really, we do have the relationship that we do because of how much we had to put into our relationship emotionally to stay together. Because the biggest issue with when you do have sex before you get married and you decide to stop is you have had that, like, ultimate level of closeness. And so, of course, when you take that out of your relationship, it feels like something's missing, because all of a sudden you don't have that closeness anymore, and that makes total sense. And so you have to work really hard to be completely in tune emotionally, and I think that is why also that we felt like our marriage, like nothing was a surprise to us at all, just because we are so in tune emotionally. People will be like, what about marriage is surprising to you? Like, even when we hear marriage seminars, there's always someone that like says something, oh no, nothing could have prepared me for marriage, and I always sit there like, what? Yeah.
Throughout our 3 years of dating, before we got married, I think it maybe been a total of 2 weeks that we hadn't seen each other.
Yeah, like we were together
like,
every single day, at least for a couple hours.
We just genuinely enjoyed spending time together.
Yeah.
Obviously, we still do. But, like Arianna said, that 2 years where we weren't having sex, that really, it required us to build a mental and emotional relationship rather than just a physical relationship, which
And that was the problem that I had with all my past relationships, was that because I felt like I needed sex, I built the entire relationship around that. And, you know, when I look back at like that relationship that I had with the one guy, I can't even tell you some of like the more serious things. I didn't know until after we broke up that he was an atheist. I had no idea. And that says a lot, because especially...
And she was with him for what, 9 months?
9 months, yeah. And I had no idea until after. All I could tell you is that he loved his car more than anything, and that he liked the Bears. And that's a big issue. And so when I looked at it from that perspective and realizing like the difference in how much I knew about him and looking at past relationships and what I knew about them, it was just like, I don't know, it was just like a light bulb in my head that was like the sexual side of things. For me, I realized that not everyone's going to agree with us, especially if you're not a person of faith. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, then it may be hard for you to understand why we feel that sex is for marriage. But for me, it was like the light bulb clicking on for why it is. Because it's so important that your relationship be built on emotions and mentally being connected, and then bringing in the sexual side later. So, I mean, I really do contribute the relationship that we do have to the fact that we stopped having sex.
Yeah.
I think that a large majority of it is because of that.
Moral of the story, don't put physical relationships first. Save the physical until after you started to build the emotional and the mental relationship.
Not even after you started to build, after it's built.
After it is built. Obviously, we did not do that, and it happened to work out for us because of many other things in our life, such as our leadership business and the relationships and the information that we were able to obtain through that. But most of the time, at least in the relationships that I see, it doesn't work out when you just build it on physical.
That's a big reason that the divorce rate is so high among people even our age. Like, I know so many people that have gotten a divorce that are around my age, and I think that that has a lot to do with it. Just in general, people have sex too early. So yeah, we're kind of beating this with what's that phrase? Beating the dead horse. Horse
beating a dead horse.
Yeah, whatever. You get it. We're repeating ourselves.
We don't want you to have to go through struggles like we had to go through, or many other people have to go through. And that's not to say we've gone through some of the worst struggles. We went through some really difficult struggles, but there's obviously much worse that other people have had to endure. Thus concludes our real relationship story.
We hope that you guys did enjoy, or maybe learn something, or just, I don't know, got to know us a little bit better. A lot of people ask us why how we became so close, or have the marriage that we do, and hopefully this kind of answers some of those questions.
So with that, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're new, hit that subscribe button.
And as always, we will see your wonderful faces tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.